Well, there we are.
Hey
Good
guys,
evening, everyone.
that's quite the intro. I like that one. That was very good.
Hello.
Well, do you want to know something? I love Celtic music, and I came across this couple, Rodney and Denise. They run a Facebook page called The Last Two, and that's one of their songs. You know, proud to be a Newfoundlander, right? So I thought, what we've got an old guy on the bike, which is Jim, right? And we're going to get into talking with Jim in a few minutes. Welcome, Jim. But I thought, what better way of bringing him on the show and introducing everybody, to Newfoundland, to Jim and all of his experience that we're going to go through. And also, never hurts to hear a little bit of Newfie music, right? Which is really good. All right. So as everybody knows, and I'm going to click on the right one. There's our ticker tape across the bottom. Wayne, I'm 2 for 2. It's gone okay so far. So we're going to start off. We haven't done it for a while, and I see a few new people in the side chat. Welcome to everybody there. And I guess before we get going, I see Craig from Moto is on from BC.
Oh, he's up late.
Yeah, he's up late. But, Craig, hope everything is okay with you guys. You and your family, we're thinking about you.
I heard a rumor, Dave.
Yeah.
He's trading his new Harley in for a boat.
I heard that. Yeah, a raft. A floatable raft or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get going. So we're going to go around the clock, and the topic is introductions. And I'd like each of you just to tell a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your YouTube channel, and also the bike that you're currently riding. So Jim, as always with the guests, you get to go first and break the ice.
Okay. Well, I'm Jim, and I have Old Guy on a Bike for my YouTube channel. When I started the channel, I thought I'd grow into it. I'm still slowly growing into that title. Now, the funny thing is I was born in Montreal, brought up in Nova Scotia. I have been here on the island, though, for the last 26 years. Thought I was coming for 4 and just stayed. I've had my motorcycle license for 49 years, just this month. 49, October, 49 years riding. And professionally, I was a still am, a theater technician, a carpenter, designer, and teacher. That's what I did for the last 24 years.
Yeah.
Was teach. And so I'm retired from full time.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing a lot of theater work. And of course, now I'm producing a lot of videos of motorcycling and camping. And especially now that I've got the mini mate camper. So trying to get on the road as much as possible and working up to an 8 to 10 week trip, probably in 2023.
Now, Jim, this is one of the pictures that you sent us, because when I first, and the majority of time I see you with your helmet on, so you don't get to see the man beneath it.
I had dark hair then.
When you said you were an old guy on the bike, I had to think, well, what's that really mean? Because we're all pretty old on this channel.
But here's the funny thing is, of course, I bought that used BMW, which was an old man's bike, when I bought it when I was 20. I ran that for 15 years and absolutely loved it. But at the time, way back then, it was considered an old man's bike. So I guess I've come full circle.
Good stuff. Okay, thanks. So Kev.
Hi, I'm Superman Kev, 2001. I'm a former theater guy too. Actually, I did a little bit of theater for a while, some 30 years or so, 25 years or so, and former motorcycle instructor. So I've been riding a really long time too. I've been riding 30 some odd 5 years or so, and probably longer if you count the mini bike time. But that's pretty much me. And I really like ice cream, and I make a lot of videos about that.
Thanks, Kev. Wayne.
Jarvis Biker here. I ride a 2021 Road Glide Limited Harley Davidson. Been riding since I was 16. I'm 64 now, so you can do the math.
You're not 64?
Yeah, I am. Right away.
No, you're 63. You and I have the same year. You were born in 58.
Yeah, I know. We're getting there. We're almost 64. How's that?
No, I'm 63.
Yeah.
You're like my wife, right? If you're born in an even year, then your number has to be an even number. So we're in 2021. So you're 63, my friend.
No, I'm almost 64.
All right.
I'm in my 64th year. How's that, Dave?
I'm still 63. I'm really younger now.
Yeah.
Young pups.
Anyway, now that we know how old we are, been riding since I was 16, and we really like the long trips. We like to go for long rides, long day rides and long week rides. So that's what we're up to. And we're shut down for the winter because there's salt on the roads. So we're done.
Snow on the roads.
There's salt on the roads.
Yeah, I gotta go through that much snow.
Very good. Is that it?
I think so.
That's
That's
all
all
I
of them.
got. I'm almost 64.
All right. So even though Wayne and I are very close in the same date as our birthdays, we're very far apart because I'm only 63. So, and I host a channel called Hardy's Diners Rides. And like Wayne and Kev, we cover everything around motorcycles. I guess the one thing that gives me a little bit different is I have a 38-foot fifth wheel toy hauler, which I pull out to all of the major rallies. And my wife, Lorilei, who also rides a 2008 Deluxe, we head out for the rallies and that. So we have a really good time doing that. Okay, so, but I'm only 63. Wayne is
much more mature.
Yeah.
I can't. It just goes with being so young.
Carry on.
All right. First question. So again, this comes back to the channel, Old Guy on a Bike. So I had to ask, when and why did you start riding? Jim?
Well, one thing I want to just note, I'm seeing a lot of names in the chat that I know, but I can't see my chat very easily. So if I don't recognize you, it's because you're off to the side. I was brought up in a pulp and paper town in Nova Scotia. And my high school English teacher and theater advisor had a hobby farm, which I used to work on. And he had a Honda 450, a twin. Now, of course, this is like 1971. And he had a whole lot of buddies who would show up, and they were on BSAs, Triumphs, other Hondas, and a few of them were on BMWs. So I ended up spending a summer or so around a lot of bikes and started getting interested. And of course, the minute that I went to Ontario for school, and probably wasn't under my mother's watchful eye, I bought a Honda 50 scooter with 2 helmets for $75. So I bought that the week I arrived at school. A month later, I went out and actually did the test. Now, that little 50 was, a fun little bike. It was a bit of a chick magnet, actually. I got pulled over and kicked off the Queen Elizabeth Highway for being too slow on that. It's a wonder I survived that first year. But when I got back to Nova Scotia, I sold that 50 again in April for $75 with the 2 helmets. So it didn't cost me anything to run. But I immediately picked up a 175 Honda, and then later on picked up a Draft Dodgers 350 Honda Scrambler. And that was a fast little bike. The only problem with it, it had a very small gas tank. I could get 60 miles, and then I really had to find a gas station. But I rode that from Nova Scotia back to Welland, Ontario on Labor Day weekend. And I'll tell you something, going through Toronto on Labor Day Monday was one of the hairiest things I think I've ever done.
Could you even keep up?
Well, it would do 60 miles an hour all day, but it really didn't like to go any faster than that. Yeah. But that long trip got me totally hooked. So the next summer, I started my first professional theater job, and I found a used 2-year-old Beamer, the one that was in that picture, an R75/5. And it had the big touring tank on it, the 6-gallon tank, not the toaster tank. Mm-hmm. And I started just taking that all over the Maritimes. So I was working in Fredericton, visiting my parents in Liverpool, Nova Scotia, quite often camping one night in between, going back and forth, and just all over the place with that. And that Beamer, just because of that large gas tank and the shaft drive, and it just felt so darn smooth, is what led me to end up, when I could finally buy a new bike in 2005, I bought the Honda ST1300. Big tank, shaft drive, smooth as anything, and goes really fast. Now that Honda CB750 was my in-between bike. It was supposed to, I was supposed to have it for about 4 or 5 years after the BMW suffered a really catastrophic engine failure. But I seem to keep bikes about 15 years. I don't trade bikes very quickly. And my ST1300, it still runs really, really well. So I have a funny feeling I'll have it for as long as I can hold it up. And when I can no longer hold it up, I'll probably look at going to a Ural with a sidecar, so I can be eccentric old guy on a bike.
Oh, good stuff. I hope I'm getting those pictures right for you, Jim.
Well, they're pretty well, I think, in order. I wasn't sure when we would use them either.
Yeah, well, you tell me when you want me to put them up, or I'll be putting them in. All right.
I might miss them.
Okay, so Kevin.
Hey, when did I start riding? I started riding, well, I had this interest in motorcycles forever. So I had a couple of little mini bikes. I had a pull start, and then I had a little Honda 50. So I started riding those. I don't think I was any more than about, 12. I was told by my dad was a policeman, and he told me, don't you dare drive that thing on the street. So I listened to my dad, and I would push it a block down before I started it and ride it on the street. with me and my brother. And I started riding on the road in about 83, I think, is when I got my first bike. That's when I started, because I bought an 84 Honda Interceptor. So I was in there. Yeah, when I started riding. Anyway.
Good. Mr. Wayne? I have to say Mr. to give you the respect of an older guy.
So never had a bike as a young kid. Growing up on a farm, that was wasted gas and equipment. So started riding in high school. A buddy of mine, well, 2 or 3 of my buddies had bikes, and the one guy was selling his and upgrading. So I bought his old one. It was a 72 350 Honda Gold. So I rode that for a couple of years, and then I just started working my way up. But hanging around with them and just wanting to ride, and always wanted a motorcycle, like a dirt bike or something when I was a kid, or a mini bike, but just wasn't in the funds for mom and dad. So I had to wait till I got my own to get into it. But that's how it got started.
Yeah.
Good. And for me, growing up, my brother and I, my dad had a big 1966 Chevy Impala, great big, huge trunk in it. And he put two mini bikes in the trunk, would take us out, outside the city to the farmers' fields. And he would spend the afternoon watching my brother just go around in circle. So that was the first time I had an Arctic Cat mini bike at the time. And I thought that was the cat's meow. So anyway, and then getting older, before I got my driver's license, I actually was riding a motorcycle. I had a friend that had a CB 350, Honda 350, and we would, he wasn't supposed to be driving either. He was, I think, 15 at the time. I was 15 at the time. The bike had a sticker on it. It was good for the road. And so we would take turns riding it on a Friday, Saturday night. So that's how I started out. And then got into motocross racing on a 250 Honda. And then got into the bigger bikes, had a Honda 750, a Goldwing, an 85 Goldwing Interstate, and then now my current bike, which is a 2007 Harley Davidson Street Glide. So anyway, why I started riding? My dad got me into it. He thought it would be really fun because he had an old BSA 125 over in Scotland that he used to rip around the countryside on, right? So I'm certainly glad he got me into that. Okay, so we're going to come into a little bit of Jim's world here, and Wayne, he'll have experience on this too, right? Because he has had a trailer on his bike. So here's our next question. What inspired you into moto camping? I don't know if that's a real word, but I made it up, I think.
That's a good word. Well, as a kid, my parents always took us camping. My earliest recollections of camping, was before I started school, so 4 or 5 years old, and we first camped with a big, heavy canvas tent, and then ended up with a tent trailer to haul behind the car. And actually, my first trip around the Cabot Trail was in 1960 or 61 with my parents in the back of the car, and they were doing major, major work. The Cabot Trail is not the same as it was in 1960. All the switchbacks were being reworked. It was all, I can remember it just being dirt, and no guardrails. So that was my first experience with that type of road. I don't think I saw any motorcycles on it. So we camped all over the Maritimes and up into Quebec, down through Maine, New England states and stuff like that. So my mother was always a very avid camper. Matter of fact, some of her camping lists were the first lists I used to develop my own lists when I was starting to camp myself. So did the whole thing with everything strapped onto the bike. I think there's a picture there of the ST1300 pre-trailer with all the stuff on the bike, everything including the kitchen sink. So in those days, did some camping in parks. Some of it was, I'm just tired. It's dark. Down a side road, off a side road. That's flat enough to put a tent up. But then, when I did a cross-continent trip in 2008, I realized I couldn't comfortably travel the way I wanted to travel anymore. So I started thinking about a tent trailer at that point. And it wasn't until a few years after that I started getting a bit more seriously researching all the tent trailers. And I'm solo riding a lot. Occasionally have someone with me, but solo riding a fair bit. And it's funny, actually, just before I found the Minimate, my mother was in a nursing home by then. But just before she passed, I told her if I ever did find a tent trailer to haul behind the bike, I'd name it after her. So my trailer is called Henrietta. And I've now had that trailer for 3 seasons on the road. The COVID year doesn't count. I just love being able to have all the gear that I can carry on it. It's not hampering my travel much. It's much easier because, darn it, I'm a lot older than you guys. Not that much older. I no longer roll off an air mattress really easily on the ground and get up. It's like I don't want to try to get my pants on lying down in a tent anymore or on my knees. So I've given that stuff all up. It's a very much more luxurious and civilized way to be motor camping. And I can see doing this, at least for another 10 years.
Very good. I just see, Jim, I just see one of your buddies, Cal from Snowbird Biker has joined us. So just
hello, Cal.
Give you a heads up there.
And I see Eddie's there from Windy Therapy as well.
Yep. Yeah. So Kev, how about you?
Well, you know what? I'm not a real big fan of the moto camping. I have done some moto camping. I have decided that unlike you, I can get out of bed really easily out of the air mattress. I fall out and then I get cold and I get bitten by every bug alive. So the last time I went, I vowed I wouldn't do it again. And then when we had that COVID year, I wished I could do it. But yeah, no, I'm not. I like the idea of moto camping. Sounds good, and probably with your trailer, it would be really nice. But for me, with a little dome tent and all my junk sitting on there, and then every time I've tried to do something like that, it always rains. That's not fun. And then the last time I did it, I was in Algonquin Park, and they told us about the bears, and they said they'd been having a problem bear coming around, and that it was really important that I put all my stuff in the locker. They had like bear lockers in the middle of the campground. That really didn't give me that feeling of calm that I wanted while I was sleeping. Every time I heard something outside, I wondered if that was coming through my side of my tent. So I'm going to say moto camping, not a fan. I like motel camping.
Hey, Wayne.
So a few years ago, I went up to, what do they call it now? But like the Mosport Park to watch the bike races. It was the World Championship, I think. And everybody there camps, like everybody that goes. I went for the day. I was on the Concours, and I went in, and I got looking around at all these people and how they had everything all set up, and I was like, So it's always been in the back of my mind to do it, and I do have, like I've got a propane stove and some other stuff and sleeping bags. I just basically all I need is a tent, and I could go right away and do it. But with the trailer, I can haul all that stuff pretty handily without packing everything too heavy on the road glide. So it's been in my mind that this summer I was going to do it, and I think I spoke a couple of times on here before that I was probably going to try it. So kind of looking forward to it, actually. So there are weekends where the wife works the whole weekend. And I get Friday, Saturday, Sunday off now. So that's probably going to be when I'll do it, is one of those weekends where she has to work. So I'll just disappear.
So, Jim, I was going to ask you when you towed your trailer, you did tow it with the 1300 as well.
Yes.
And
That's the only bike I've towed it with. I've only had it for 3 years, and the ST100
okay.
I've had since 2005, 2006.
Those are such nice motorcycles for traveling long distances.
Yeah.
I mean, I really love that electric windshield that thing has, and I really was interested in buying one of those before I bought my Harley, and I just I don't know, somewhere in there I changed gears, but I think it was the cost actually, because I could get a Harley for as much as it was going to cost me for that ST. You know.
Well, you can now get a used ST for a really good price,
Yeah.
and they last and last and last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think your next bike will be, Jim?
It'll probably be the Ural.
Oh yeah.
I honestly, the ST does everything that I want. I can't see any reason to buy another bike. The maintenance on that and stuff, what it's going to cost compared to buying a new bike as well, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And that engine is just so darn solid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, this part's wearing out. I've got a video coming up soon on rebuilding the clutch master and slave cylinders, and I'm probably going to tackle the brakes this year. But other than that, it's like, no, you change tires, change the fluids, put more gas in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they had such good luck with that ST 1100 that when the 13 came out, they had all the bugs worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still a lot of 1100s on the road, and I've got friends who are just they like the 1100 more than the 13.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. So just to finish off here, you know what? I've only got one story of me moto camping, and that was me and another friend of mine when we were 16 and had our 750s. We packed up sleeping bags, clothes, tents, alcohol, and we went to a provincial park. And when we got there, we realized we didn't take any food, but we had alcohol. And
at 16, that's all you need.
And well, no, we were 16. We were a little bit more mature. We should have known better. But anyway, luckily enough, the guy that was the father of the family next to us took pity on us because he really liked our motorcycles and came over and looked. And we had breakfast and dinner with him, and then laid out on the beach all day long, got sunburned. But like I say, we had enough alcohol for the weekend. But now I do something called glamping, right?
Yeah.
which means that I've got a queen size bed that I sleep in. I've got hot and cold running water, air conditioning for when it gets cold. So, I can't say moto camping, can't say roughing it, but it's definitely glamping. All right. Anyway, and next week, oh no, I'll save that for later. Okay. Now then, this is for Jim. So Jim, how is riding in Newfoundland differ from other destinations?
Well, the two things about Newfoundland are, one, it's a lot bigger than most people think it is. It's a very big island. And two, a lot of times the roads you're taking to a place are the same roads you're going to come back. But the scenery is different coming back the other direction. You have to watch out a little bit gas-wise if you've got a small tank. It's not as bad as it was when I first got here. When I first got here, there were some really long stretches that you couldn't get gas after 5 o'clock. That's no longer true. It's pretty good. But you got to remember it is a large island. So if you come in by way of Port aux Basques and want to go to St. John's, you've got a 10-hour day of driving and a couple stops for food and gas. If you take the Argentia ferry, you've still got another hour and a half into St. John's anyway, and that Argentia ferry is 14, 16 hours on the water instead of 7 hours for Port aux Basques, and it is certainly twice the price. I usually advise people come in by Port aux Basques. It's simple
Twice
as
the
that.
price, half the fun.
Well, and you're almost forced to get a cabin because you're on the boat for that length of time, and the cabins aren't cheap. So you want to get around that. But once you're on the island, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you could find pretty crappy roads anywhere, but they've been improving and improving and improving. The first time I ever went up to St. Anthony and Lansing Meadows, where the Viking settlement was, the shoulders of the road, RVs lost tires all the time because the roads were getting so narrow because the shoulders were shot. Most of that is good road now. The video series I'm just doing right now is going down the Conagra Peninsula, which I've never gone down before. And I was really surprised at just how much good pavement and brand new pavement is on the roads going down there. And beside it being just a fabulous ride, lots of elevations and curves and scenery, and that I did that in the middle of October when it was kind of cold and not the best time to be doing it. Some offshoots like going down to Burgeo. Burgeo is a place a lot of people don't go down to. Again, a ride well worth going down. And the pavement, you got to watch out for potholes and stuff, but that one is a little bit slower being improved. But there's a lot of coastal road, which is pretty good, like around what we call the Gander Loop. And this is actually not too bad, because although you can't go to a place, you usually have to come back the same road, but there are some loops, like a loop around the Gander Loop, Bonavista Vista Peninsula. Once you get down on the Burin Peninsula a certain way, then there's a loop around it. And certainly over to St. John's, going around the Avalon, there's a number of routes and places and ways to go. I usually advise people to consider spending at least 2 weeks in the province. It's easy to spend 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We start doing a lot of the back roads and stuff. We've got a lot of good provincial camping parks, and certainly Gros Morne as a national park is just absolutely fabulous. I love going up there to ride and camp. So there's a lot to see here, a lot to do, and then you can go over to St. John's and go to George Street, and you cannot have a drink in every single bar in one night. It take you a week to get to every single bar.
Now, what about the moose? There's a lot of moose.
Well, you know what? Here's the funny thing. Yes, there are a lot of moose. I've hardly seen any moose on the highway in the last 5 years. You want to be careful, certainly dusk and dawn. Not a lot of us are up riding at dawn, though. Dusk, maybe. I had my worst scares with moose in New Brunswick when I was living there. I came the closest to hitting moose in New Brunswick there as well. I worked in Thunder Bay for 6 years. And
Thunder Bay.
Thunder Bay.
Thunder Bay.
And there was a lot of moose up there. Moose here, I see them all the time. Actually, this year I was seeing tons of caribou because I was going up through Gros Morne an awful lot this spring. I saw more caribou than moose. Nice thing about caribou, they're just grazing. So they're at the side of the road. They might be in the ditch, but they don't get on the road that often. Moose are dumb. They just get on the road and just go across, and they think nothing can hurt them. So
nothing can.
Yeah. But then if you scare them, you end up seeing them fall down half the time because they try to stop or turn around, and their hoofs on the pavement, they just go right down. Yeah. It's actually a sin sometimes watching them try to get away from you. But you don't want to come up to a moose really fast. I had a friend who had a moose accident. This was back in New Brunswick, and this was after dark. And he said he was coming around a corner, and his light hit the shadow, except the shadow just never disappeared. It just got darker and darker until he hit the moose. Put him off the bike for, I think it was about 4 months before he got his bike back on the road. But he was in a coma for 2 days.
Oh, wow.
But
they'd be a hard hit.
Yeah.
they're a hard hit, and they're so tall.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. And in his case, his bike went under the moose's spine, and he went up over the moose's spine and tumbled on the road. It was quite the mess.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did the moose live?
A friend of mine, he was
Mooseburger.
Moose burger.
friend of mine was a truck driver, and he hit a full-size moose with a cab over truck, and it came right in the windshield on him.
Yeah.
Pinned him in there, and they had to get the tow truck to yank it back out off of him. The only thing he was scared about was that it wasn't dead. Like, he was worried that it was going to come unconscious again and start kicking. He thought that it would probably kill him because it had him pinned right in against the back of the cab. So
That's actually the worst thing with cars, because the moose is so high and they've got such tall legs. They just you take their legs off, they go over the hood and through the windshield.
yeah, well,
And
this thing bent the cab back. It was like
Yeah.
a Ferrari windshield when it was done. Like, it bent it right back.
Yeah.
Yeah, my cousins hit a moose with an Austin Mini, and they tripped it, and it fell on the roof and flattened it, and the car was a wreck, total. And the moose got up and went into the woods.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you my moose story. These guys have heard it before. So the one and only time I've been to Newfoundland, Lori was in a conference. Yeah, they're going to go to sleep now. Lori was in a conference in St. John's. I get off the ferry. It's at 9:00 in the morning in Port au Basque. I'm just coming out of the small town, heading north up towards Corner Brook, and all of a sudden, this cow and calf walk right out in front of me. I hit the brakes. I've got my video, my action camera on, and I'm giving the commentary. I said, look at this, right? Not even on the shores of Newfoundland for not even half an hour, and I'm already running into moose. And I thought this was great. Waited for them to pass. Drove all the way up to Corner Brook to the McDonald's there. Get off my bike, go to turn my camera off, and realize I'd left the lens cap on.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So I was able to give a verbal commentary, audio, but no video. So
Yeah.
that's my moose story.
And you wonder why your channel isn't growing. You got to take the lens cap off.
Yeah. You know, that's easier said than done. You know, I try. Okay. Jim, what's your favorite spot of Newfoundland so far for going?
Whew. I still have to think it's Gross Mourne. Gross Mourne is there's two sides of the park, and both are nice. I've got really good campgrounds up there. So it's only 2 hours. It's 2 hours from my house to either one of the campgrounds I use the most, and it's always a good trip up. Now this last trip down to Conagra, it could become a favorite place of mine. I would like to go back down again this next year, certainly when the weather's warmer, because I didn't go down half the side roads. Okay. So it's where I'll go back. But there's lots of really neat places, like Fogo Island is a kind of a magical place to go to. So, yeah.
There's
interesting.
Yeah. For people who've never been to Newfoundland, tell them about how straight the roads are.
Okay, here's something funny. The road down to Burgeo has got huge straight sections.
No way.
The Trans-Canada has got long straight sections.
When did that happen?
It's when they first put the Trans-Canada through, because they took we're talking about the late 50s, early 60s. They took a straight line. Now your coastal roads, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But going down to Harbor Breton, which I just did, I was surprised. The first hour and a half is really just in the woods, and huge sections of that are straight as anything. After the hour and a half, though, then you start hitting some really good curves, lots of elevation changes and stuff like that. But anytime you get closer to the coastline, yes, you get some nice curves. A lot of them are good and flowing curves. There's some great roads on a bike. Simple as that.
I think it's got to be some of the best riding in the country is in Newfoundland.
I think for day after day riding, it is. It's like if you compare it to going to Cape Breton and the Cabot Trail. Like I've done the Cabot Trail a whole lot of times, and it's a destination for a lot of people. But the best parts of the Cabot Trail, there's only 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
There's 20 minutes of a really good, beautiful, iconic Cabot Trail, and the rest of it's okay. Mm-hmm. But Newfoundland, you can spend hours and hours riding and pretty neat stuff.
Craig's got a question, Dave.
Do we want to put that up there?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Just a second, gotta find it. Hold on.
That's a valid question. It's a valid place.
Well, it's certainly a place to take a photo op.
Yeah. Everybody knows. Everybody's heard of that place.
Yes. Now it's funny. Actually, one of my favorite provincial campgrounds is not near Dildo. It's near Twillingate, and it's called Dildo Run.
But
and
there's another one. Come by Chance.
Come by Chance. Heart's Delight. There's a whole slew of different places that certainly have got double meanings. Mm-hmm. I'm not actually sure what the old English word dildo, or it might have been Irish, but I'm not sure how that got transferred to Newfoundland and became a name here. But it's definitely worth going over and taking a photo op.
The people who live there love the name.
Well, they love the name because it has meant so much for putting them on the map.
Yeah.
It really has.
Yeah.
And it's a whole, it's a very historical and interesting whole area in and around that. And well worth, that's one of the places I have not been, actually.
Oh, well, then you've got it. We got to get you back on after you've done your dildo trip.
Well, it's on my itinerary for next summer. No, it definitely is.
Very good. Okay. Springing away from the dildo. Let's go to our next question.
How uncomfortable can we make Dave?
It's warm in here, isn't it? Oh. All right. What goes into planning a moto camping trip, Jim?
Good question. It depends on what you're planning to do with it. Now, next year with the ST Owners Group, I have started to put together what I'm calling a rolling rock stock. A stock is one of the ST events. And it will be, and again, Newfoundland's a little different. You don't want to pick one place and try to do day rides out from that place because you really can't. So what we're doing is basically 12 days starting on the West Coast, going up to St. Anthony and the Viking settlement, coming back down, going over to Twillingate, probably hitting Fogo Island, and down to the Burin Peninsula. Basically 12 days of just doing nothing but riding the whole province. Of course, there's Intercourse, Pennsylvania. I think I've been through it. But in that case, about half of us right now. I think I've got about 12 bikes interested. I expect we might end up with maybe about 20 people riding this, and half will be doing camping, and half I've got to do the research on getting them on where they can find their B&Bs and their cabins, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I mostly am a camping person. Up until the time I retired, like most people, it's like you've got X number of days to go a certain amount of distance. So you're traveling probably, longer days than you should to get everything in, which means I've set up camp in the dark too damn many times. I'm now, with being retired, is like I'm trying to slow that down. So the other trips I'm planning, I'm starting to look at 400-kilometer days, and then finding a good campsite. Mm-hmm. Because I've got the camper, I'll do most of my cooking and stuff in camp, etc. So that's one thing I don't have to worry about so much. I have got a bunch of spreadsheets, and this is coming back to my mother's lists, I think. But I've got spreadsheets for how many kilometers, where I'm going to start, where I'm going to end, how many kilometers that is, what's going to cost me approximately in gas, try to figure out my meal costs. If I'm cooking in camp, I'm into $25, $30 a day for food. I'll budget like $75 for bourbon and wine per week. Campgrounds, here in Canada, and especially in Ontario, you're paying too much in Ontario, damn it. But budgeting the campgrounds, and then if you're going to get firewood, you got to put that into the account as well. Yes, Jody, I am. But so I'll end up with a number of kilometers I'm going. So if I'm doing a long trip, like when I did the cross-continent trip, I also had to figure out, okay, when am I going to need to change tires? And that ended up being in Vancouver. So I prearranged that. So the tires I wanted were going to be at a shop where I was going to get an oil change. So that's all part of that whole camping and figuring out thing. Now, if you are, it's a little simpler if you've got a fairly unlimited budget and you are trying to cover as much ground as possible and you're just doing motels and restaurants. But cripes, I can feed myself and have drinks for 2-3 days for what someone's often paying for a good restaurant supper and a couple of beer.
When you're planning your trip like that, I know, like when I'm on a camping trip, I always want to try and get there at the very latest, like setting up camp, say at 4:00 in the afternoon at the very latest, because you don't want to be trying to do it at night. Is that something that's a consideration when you're doing your trips with the motorcycle?
It is now. I literally have set I can set Henrietta up in the dark with a headlight on in 10 minutes at the most in the dark. Mm-hmm. But I want to get away from that. And so that is one of my considerations. Being retired, it does mean, you don't have the same time constraints. But there is the problem with the longer you're on the road. So if you're going shorter distance, that means more nights, more meals. So that's one set of expenses, as opposed to covering the same distance in a very, very short time, doing hotels and restaurants. Because I'm mostly traveling by myself, I really hate doing anything at a hotel. But I do usually budget in for one hotel per week. And that's in case of inclement weather. And that could be either extreme heat or cold and wet, depending on what time of the year I'm out traveling. So I'll take a look at all of that. And now for my 70th birthday in 2023, that's when I'm going to do a big Four Corners, and I'll do a couple of planning videos when I get to later on this winter. I have to take into consideration the fact that over the course of 8, 10, 12 weeks, leaving the earliest I can leave Newfoundland is really about the Victoria Day weekend. The latest I can come back is really around Canadian Thanksgiving. So if I leave in May, I need to head.
That, Jim? Why the time constraint? Is it just weather?
It's weather. It's weather. So if I leave in May, I'm going to head immediately south. So I'm going to head down the eastern seaboard of the U.S. down to Florida, and then get across the southwest. Get across the southwest in June before it gets really, really hot, and then go up the Pacific coast, and then back across Canada when it's actually warm in Canada. Mm-hmm. If I left in August, I would go the other way. I would go across Canada first, then down, and then over.
When are you planning on this one?
This is in 2023. Next year, I've got myself tied up with this rally I'm doing and a couple of other things.
If you want company, get a hold of me.
We will talk about it. Yeah.
Wayne will be 64 by then.
Yeah,
I'll be 65.
And Tommy G, the longest trip I've done to date, and this was way before the camper, I went just over 22,000 kilometers.
Wow.
From here out to LA, up to Vancouver and back.
Wow.
And I did that in 28 days.
Wow.
It's like I don't want to do it again in anything like that. It's like I'm going to go much shorter days, and there's a number of times, and it'll be very jagged Four Corners, and I'll find places where I will set up camp for 2 or 3 days at a time, and just day trip out of that camp. I usually try to, on longer trips, make sure I've got a down day about every 5th or 6th day, so I can do laundry, just catch up on all sorts of other things and stuff like that. I've found that I've got people I know. So there's one of the other things is also planning my visiting. So I can visit someone, they can feed me, I can use their laundry facilities and that sort of thing. So I got people all the way across Canada, sort of just some of them are just right in the right places for tripping. But that being said, I really do like being out camping. So there's some relatives who are going to have to just see me for coffee. I'll be just passing through. No, that sort of thing.
So Greg Pack, I just threw his question up.
Yeah.
He's looking for some recommendations, but how about we'll put his question on the back burner, because I'd like to go on to our next one, which is, talking about challenges, right? And just to kind of bring it up first, I got 2 little video clips that I just want to play for people. Jim has been gracious to give us permission to use these, or one of them, right? So here we go.
I've watched this.
That's not mine.
So this is, well, wait until it's finished. So that was, just to start off, that was Two Wheels Big Life, Rich and Kate. and his trailer on a steep incline. And by the way, if you watch the whole video, Richard was fine. Actually had a couple of good Samaritans coming over, helping him to get back down the hill. They disconnected the trailer and walked it back down to a flat spot, and they were up and going fairly shortly. Now, here's Jim's version of, and I'll let you decide the title.
Operator
Firm
error.
believer in showing the good times and the bad times. Anyway, had a really good night at Trout River Campground in Gross Mourne. Heading back the next morning, and well, I made a newbie mistake in hitching up the trailer.
Uh-oh.
And it decided to leave me.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
This video's only just 3 minutes. I'll let it play as there's more to it.
Beautiful country.
Shit.
What? What was that?
Fudge.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It looks sad.
What a great time to have 4 cameras actually set up. So here we are with the back view. Awfully pretty sight. Till about now.
Wasn't too hard a landing.
No.
And let's see that one more time. No huge bumps, just I had the trailer hitch not hooked on right. Dragging now on the chains,
Did the chains break?
and luckily the safety clips let go. I think that was lucky. I am so grateful that there was no oncoming traffic. This could have been a lot worse. A lot worse. Well, this was a good little learning incident. I'm fine, the bike's fine, the Minimate tub is fine, the tongue is toast. Bolt snapped right off, thank goodness.
Oh, wow.
It's at a local garage in Woody Point, and I will take a new tongue up on Monday and bring it home. Thanks for watching.
So there we go.
Yeah. So that was really operator error. But it was a series of things that actually kind of worked out. The last time I'd used the trailer was on the car, and I had longer chains on it then. And I didn't realize the chains were far too long. Now, the previous owner had clips on there that weren't closed. And I really hadn't thought through and done a lot. Like it was really early in my trailer use. It was my first full summer I was using it. So it's like, okay, safe chains, you're not worried about too much. But what happened was I didn't actually seat the coupling on the ball. So I closed it and locked it above the ball. I'm still surprised at the fact it didn't come off on the dirt road coming out of the campground. I'm not sure why it went off then, but it was one of those things. It's like, okay, I heard something wrong before I really felt it, but it popped off the ball. The hitch hit the ground, and the chains were just dragging it, and they were too long. If I had to put my brakes on at that point, that hitch would have gone into my rear tire, and I would have been ass over tea kettle. So luckily, those not very good clips bent and let the chains loose. So then it went across the road, and there was just two bolts holding the tongue on, and they just snapped right off. The tub, that fiberglass tub, no damage to it at all. No damage to any cameras. I just got another piece of 2x2 steel tubing and made up a new tongue when I went home. But since then, I'm a very big advocate for good and proper chains on the trailer. Now they're short enough that if it came off, it would be cradled, and I could bring it down to a safe stop. But when you look at those hitches, if you have it hooked up properly, you aren't going to have it come off. You've got to have a hitch that's in really bad shape that you haven't taken care of. It's going to be cracked and broken, or you didn't put a locking pin in it to keep it from opening it up. So it's really up to the operator to make sure that it's properly there. I don't think I'll ever have to use the safety chains again, but now they're on shorter. They'll cradle it, and they're with closed quick links, so they won't bend open. They'll hold it very well.
Yeah, when I got my trailer, Jim, I replaced all my hitch and chains and everything. And I've wore my chains out, but with the Goldwing, they were probably just a little too long, and when you did take a sharp bend, they would drag a little bit.
Yeah,
and they got wore down, so they need replacing again now. But I'll do that this winter when I'm doing the hitch and everything for the road glide. So
yeah.
So here's a question.
They're that's the only thing about those bigger camper trailers that I didn't like. I would just use my little trailer. I don't think I'd want to be hauling that kind of weight.
So a quick question for Jim and Wayne, because both you guys have experience in trailering. What do you do to address the weight of these trailers, both for taking off from a start, stopping, maneuvering, things like that? Because as you saw with the video with Kate and Rich, there was nothing wrong with his bike. His bike just wasn't gravity just dragged his bike back.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you?
Mine's not that heavy, Dave. So,
yeah.
But you balance the load. I mean, that's one of the major things that you got to watch is you want a little bit more weight on the tongue than you got hanging off the back end, because then you get into it'll try to wag the dog, right? Tail's wagging the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And but like mine, I don't have that much weight in it. Like whenever we go on a trip, it's mostly just the luggage, like the clothing and a spare set of helmets, like full faces in there, and lawn chairs, stuff like that. Like I know Jim's is, he's got all his camping gear and everything in there. If I go camping, it'll be that much heavier, but it won't be near as heavy as what he's hauling.
Yeah. The Mini Mate itself is not too bad. It's about 260 pounds. Yeah. And with all my gear in it, I think I'm weighing about 450, and that's with a full cooler. The biggest thing is you've got to realize you cannot pull it onto the highway from a stop as quick as you can without the trailer there. Always being really, really aware of the surroundings, because you don't want to get into a panic stop. Now, I've had two what I would consider panic stops with the the Mini Mate, and both of them were fine. It's just I wouldn't want to do it on a corner, but in a straight line, I didn't find them a problem. The biggest issues I've got with the trailer is depending on my speed in the roads. I'm losing at least 10% of my gas mileage, if not 15%, if I'm traveling on the interstate. It's
really, you can,
15%.
Yeah.
And so there's that. I haven't found that much difference in tire wear on my rear tire. I'm running, getting with the same amount of mileage out of my rear tire as I was before, so that's not been an issue. Now, rear brake pads, my brake pads, I'm switching out at about 20,000 kilometers instead of 25 or 30,000 kilometers. So I'm certainly, weighed, certainly, that's one thing that happens. Now there's one thing with the Mini Mate. The Mini Mate is only 40 inches wide. So my ST1300 is 37 inches from mirror tip to mirror tip. So I only have to worry about 1.5 inches wider than me to get through and into any place, which I think helps. But you got to be careful about, going into gas up, because you got to watch out for the curb. You got to remember you're doing a wide sweep and turn around. I've had a couple times where I have not been able to park in a pull-through parking space, and a couple times I've actually had to unhook the trailer, push it out, turn it around, bring the bike out and hook it up. That's 5 minutes out of your day. You've got to constantly be aware that it's there. It's the biggest thing. Now, Rich's thing with being on that steep incline was a problem. Now, I recently took the Mini Mate on just a day trip to just get used to it again, and did a lot of a run around the Port-au-Port Peninsula here, and went down a lot of dirt roads that I normally wouldn't have traveled on. And yes, you hit a gravelly road going up it or down it with the trailer behind, you are really aware of what you've got there. It's like you can't really stop. You're going to slide. The worst I had was a couple years ago in Millinocket, Maine. They had just finished filling in a whole lot of holes in the campground with sand, not even gravel. It was sand. And going up the hill to the campsite, and then the next day coming back down again, that one was a bit hairy. But I haven't dumped the bike yet.
Good. Well, that's the main thing. And
Knock on wood.
Yeah, in both of the videos, it's great to see that. Minimal damage and no physical injuries. Just, I guess in both cases, just a little bit of pride. Right?
Well, it's a teaching moment.
Yeah.
And I don't mind, I don't mind showing people when things go wrong at all.
Yeah.
It's like it makes them think a bit more. That's a good thing.
Did you get more views on that video?
I got quite a few views on that video. I think it's about 8,500 or so.
People like mayhem.
Yeah. Now I've got some of the other videos, like some of the renovations on the Mini Mate, which are 24,000 views on them. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Well, it's a unique. There's not many people with the trailer setup like you, and so of course, if I want to find out more about it, I'm going to search out people like you and watch your videos. Speaking of which, here's our next questions. What are the advantages of towing a tent trailer?
Well, I know trailers are not for everyone. I know that. But my biggest thing was I carried too much stuff to go camping. You can see how much the bike was packed before I got the trailer. And I like to be comfortable when I'm traveling. And I like cooking. I really hated, those little one burner stoves are great for making a cup of coffee on. But if you cook your bacon, you then make an egg. The bacon is cold as anything by the time you get to it. try to make toast as well, you're up the creek. So I love having, a 2-burner stove. And with the 2-burner stove, I'm now carrying a 5-pound propane tank. I hated the 1-pound propane tanks that you're supposed to throw away. I know you can fill them, but they're still just a pain in the ass. And I can get through weeks and weeks and weeks with a 5-pound cylinder, whereas I would be going through those 1-pounders, like crazy. I can carry more stuff to deal with weather. And that's, I've got sort of a layered system for sleeping now. And Greg, I made I know we got a delay here, but I made an aluminum sort of tray for it that hooks to the tongue. It's in one of my videos somewhere. But the thing is, with the tent trailer, I can stay warmer. I can stay cooler because I can bring a fan. I've got extra solar power and batteries, so I've got good lighting. I've now found out that I can run a 12-volt electric blanket if I want to for a few hours. I can charge up my laptop, and I don't have to get electricity. When I travel, the solar panel is usually charging up during the course of the day while I'm actually traveling. It's just so much more convenient. I've got things that extra tables and stuff. I don't need a picnic table where I go. I've got good shelter, and I can be out of the rain to eat because I've got a table set up in the camper. When I'm not in bed mode, I'll go into office mode. So it's just, so many advantages that way, because to get a decent sized tent, you're taking up so much room on the bike. It's one of those things where if you're camping and you're 2 up, well, the funny thing is you actually got to carry a smaller tent, smaller sleeping pad, and
two of everything.
Yeah, 2 of everything. If you're solo camping, you can carry the bigger tent, the bigger, better sleeping bags and stuff like that, and some cooking gear.
How's that? How old is that trailer? Like the tent?
Somehow the manufacturer's label came off it, but from everything able to figure out, it's probably between 1998 and about 2003.
Wow. So how's the waterproofing of the tent still
perfect.
to this day?
Perfect.
Really?
Yeah. The vinyl
that's
top,
what you see with a lot of like the ones you pull with a car, the tent trailers, the tent part, they got like blue tarps up over them because the tarp part leaks, after a few years.
Yeah, no, the top of this is a marine vinyl, and then the sides are actually a tent canvas.
Oh, okay.
And I will put some waterproofing on it this coming year on the canvas part, but the vinyl just that marine vinyl just seems to last forever.
Really?
And they've been making the Mini Mate's been made since I think 1984, maybe a little bit earlier than that. And I've been down to the factory and popped in because I needed to find a part. Those tubs are just so strong. Like, I've drilled so many holes in mine. I've done so many things with it, but it's surprising how well it works. I've been in some pretty nasty rain and some pretty high winds, and I've been just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But
So Greg's asking generator, I guess, versus your solar panels here.
I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. The one thing with the generator, of course, is you could, I know people carrying AC units. Cripes, I've never been. The number of nights I've been in really hot weather in the last 3 years have been almost nil. The reason I like the solar, it covers everything I need to charge and do. I'm not trying to get too much out of it. Now, the only thing is right now I've got a 50-watt solar panel. I might bump that up to 100 watts just so it will charge up my batteries faster. I'm using just a couple of sealed lead acid batteries that are meant for like emergency lighting and stuff like that. They're
It's
deep cycle
Windy
batteries.
Therapy's got one of those power packs.
Yeah.
And he charges it with the solar, and then he's got that for when he's camping.
Yeah, and that works. That works fine too. Like the Jackery units, they work really, really well.
Mhm.
But I've got my batteries built in, and my plug-in places, built in. My lighting inside the trailer is pretty well hardwired in there now, so it's that all works well. But it's a matter of paring down and figuring out what you really want to do and charge. Now I've got too many cameras, so I am going through batteries like crazy. That's why I had so many cameras running when I had the trailer go off. My biggest power use is a little bit of lighting, but it's certainly much more charging up all the stuff I've got. There is not a moment on a trip where I don't have at least one camera running. So I end up with a lot of footage and replacing batteries in some things. And in other places like now, the camera on the trailer, and the trailer is a really rock solid spot for videoing from. That's now hardwired to the solar system. And that means with a 64 gig card, I could end up with 9-10 hours of video at the end of the day from that.
So what is your camera? What are you using?
I got to do a video on those soon. I bought a bunch of movie VOK2s a number of years ago. The price on them was really, really good. Specs on them really good. It's an English company. A lot of people don't know about them. But in the last while, they're all 3-4 years old at least, and they've taken a lot of abuse. So in the last bit, I've ended up with an SJ cam, a Star 7. I really don't like that because it just is finicky to start it running. But I've got a couple of Acasos, and I just bought a XTU S3 camera, which has got pretty good specs and will take an external mic. So that's now going to become my helmet cam going into this new year.
So how do you start them and stop them? Do you have to get off and start them all? Is that what you do?
I'll usually, like the trailer cam, I'll start as I'm checking all my stuff and ready to go. The one that's shooting back at me, I will turn on and off on the course of the ride. The helmet cam, I try to have it running all the time, just because it's probably one of the better viewpoints. But I must admit, I really do like the viewpoint from the trailer, because the trailer is a very steady platform to put a camera on.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the Garmin, and these Garmin with a 64 gig chip, you can do 10 3/4 hours of video, and you can set one as the master, and the other ones, when you turn the master on, the others will start and run remotely. So I just power them. I don't even put the batteries in. I got 3 brand new batteries. I've never had them in the camera.
Yeah.
I don't run with the battery. They run better without the battery when you're powering them for the day. So
they would.
And then I added the swivel just now, like just recently. I've test run them, and so I'm going to have that on my front facing back at me, and the one on my helmet, so I can turn them. If I see something that I can't stare at, I can turn the camera so that the camera can view what I can't keep eyeballing.
Mm-hmm.
Got to keep your eye on the road. So
No,
they're pretty good. They'll do I think 1600, but I run them on 1080.
Yeah. I should just put everything at 1080, 60 frames a second.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, that's all you
if-
can get on YouTube anyway. So
Yeah, and it doesn't take up as much room on a card,
no.
and it certainly doesn't. I've shot some stuff in 4K, like with I did try some of my drone stuff at 4K. It just crashed my laptop. It just
So what's your drone? What are you using?
I've got a Parrot Anafi. It's great little drone, good specs, takes good picture, really easy to fly. I got a good deal on it. It's very, it's close to the Mavic Air, a little bit better, and takes the wind better than like the Mavic Mini.
Yeah, that's what I've got. That's
Yeah.
my biggest problem is wind.
Yeah,
And it's not like if it was a strong wind, it's gusts. It gives you the warning and you got to bring her down before it flips, right? So
No, you just fly your drone and it flies away. That's what I do.
yeah.
Oh,
losing a $50 or a $75 drone is a lot better than losing a $500 or
I know.
$600 drone.
I can lose it just as easy.
Yeah.
yeah, but yours came back.
I
Kev.
did a year later.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
They are a great tool though for motovlogging. And
Yeah, I don't get mine up as much as I'd like to. There's an awful lot of restricted places. Like you can't, like Itchy Boots rides on dirt roads in countries where it's just wide open. There's no problem with her shooting. But here, provincial parks, federal parks, and highways, you cannot put a drone up over any of those places.
Mhm.
You'll get in a great.
I was on the Niagara Parkway there a week or so ago, and I wanted so bad. As soon as I turned it on, it gave me the warning, like don't do it, because it was either because of the border crossing bridge that was nearby, or it was Buffalo Airport was the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
the
was,
thing
I
is,
was within the parameters of one of those, so
and
I
the thing is,
didn't light her up. I had her turned on, but I didn't light her up.
now you can get away with flying in some places, but I know a couple of years ago someone flew in Grossmore National Park, and of course they posted it to YouTube, and someone from the park ended up seeing it, and I think they got about a $2,000 fine out of that.
So what would be the problem with flying them there? Just that they restrict them for noise and
it's partially wildlife. It's partially campgrounds because of people. And the other thing, and this is true in a lot of the parks in the U.S., is it's image capture of the park. It's the parks are slightly copywritten, so you have to get permission or pay to be able to fly and video in most of the parks. So it's along those lines as well. It's protecting their scenery so no one misuses their scenery.
Well,
but yet your tax dollars are keeping it funded. So
I know.
That's a good comment for a future video or live stream. I'm just looking at this. Want to give us some time to kind of work towards wrapping tonight's live stream up. So, Jim, we're going to ask you to lead off again. So, what's your next adventure?
Okay. Well, doing that rally next summer is the next big one I'm planning. So what's going to happen is I'm already pretty well agreed to be building theater sets in May and June. Then in July there'll be a couple of weeks on leading people around the province, and then after that I'm supposed to be up in Welland for Labor Day weekend, and if I do that, there is a an Ontario rally again through the ST owners group in Huntsville, which is the weekend after Labor Day. So I would go up to Huntsville, and then I'm seriously thinking about taking my time and going down to North Carolina, because there's another rally down there the last week of September called the Blue Ridge Gathering. And I attended that about 3 years ago. First big trip with the trailer. So I will probably do that. And that means I can come back to Canada first week of October. Now,
So which Huntsville are you describing there?
Ontario.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Huntsville,
Yeah.
Ontario.
Well, that's Dave's neighborhood.
Ah,
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, if you're up here for Welland or Huntsville,
Welland is near me.
yeah, please
I'm
let
like
us know.
45 minutes to Welland.
We'll have a
I'll
meetup.
find a way of making sure everyone knows. Now, the last time I went down to the Blue Ridge Gathering, it wasn't until after Canadian Thanksgiving. So I was traveling back. I actually arrived back. I arrived at the ferry, I think, on like the 26th of October. My last 3 days on the road, I had snow every single day. I didn't do any camping. That was all hotels. But luckily it's bumped up much earlier in the year, so I can do that. So that's
Yeah, you'll be coming right by us.
Yeah,
We'll even drag Kevin down to.
absolutely.
there we go. But what I'll do, if I go to Huntsville, I'll go down into the States and then just sort of meander my way down. I'll have a couple of weeks to kill before I have to be in North Carolina. I do want to get pictures of me pulling Henrietta through the tail of the dragon. Got to get those.
Very good. Thanks, Jim. Kev, what's up for you next?
You know what? I've got a couple of ideas. These great, shop videos that everybody just loves. I'm waiting on a couple of parts to come, and I don't really have much on the go right now. Just trying to get through the next day.
Did you photograph the exhaust for Wayne?
You know what? I did remember.
Okay. But you didn't
Remembered, but
photograph.
did it?
You didn't do it, did you?
I did remember. I didn't have my phone with me when I went to do it. I was out in the shop today, actually, and I thought he's going to ask me about this.
Oh, Jim, he's got a hole in his, like in the catalytic, I guess, on his bike, and it makes a little bit of a racket. So we were going to take the part off. Wayne was going to take it to work and have one of the welders.
I thought about it today, Wayne.
TIG welded in. There's 2 TIG welders in the shop right now. They got one to play with.
All right. I'll get off the
They're just
live
sitting
stream
there
and
waiting.
and
They're
I'll
waiting.
take the picture.
Yeah.
Kevin, they're waiting. They're going to be unemployed before you get there.
I
Hurry.
know.
But that's
Wayne,
what that's
what's up
all
with
about. So, you want to know what my next? Okay, so I'm the same as Kevin. I'm shut in now till March.
Yeah.
And so I've already started the shop videos. I've got one that's I probably would have already posted it to YouTube tonight before we came on here, but for some reason my keyboard for my Mac crapped out. So
Yeah. Technical difficulties. I made a whole video about you and
as
me.
far as any big trips, that's around May 24 will be the first big trip. That'll be to New Hampshire area, and I'll probably run into Have Moto will travel while I'm down there. I made sure that I'll be hooking that up. So
Good stuff.
but that's a long ways from now. So it'll be all shop videos, and
Only 29 weeks, Wayne, and then it's summer.
it, you know what? It wasn't that bad with the other bikes,
Yeah.
but with that new shiny Harley out there, man,
Just 29 more weeks.
I mean, like today, I could have ridden today, but my bike would be covered in salt. Even though it rained last night, it would still be
I'd need
juiced.
snow
I'd
tires.
have to like ultimately clean it again like I did it this time. So it's hard. It's really hard to stare at that thing out in the garage. It just about drives me crazy. So
Yeah, I'm going to make a video kind of about that. That's sort of what I'm working on.
yeah.
Very good.
I hug it when I come into the garage. I give it a bro hug and I carry on my way. And it's like, yeah, man, I know.
Give it a fist
I
bump.
miss you, man. It's like,
love you, dude.
Oh.
yeah.
Well, let's hope for an early spring. So for me, I actually bought something for my motorcycle.
Oh, there's a surprise.
Yeah, it wasn't that expensive. Anyway, some new mounts for my cameras. Just trying out some different things, about mounting them on the fairings. So there's that. The only other thing that we're planning is our hog chapter is got a booth in this June's or this January's bike show. So kind of excited about that. I'm going to be at the booth. So if any of our viewers are in the Toronto area and head to the bike show, you'll see me there. But other than that, the other thing is that I'm hoping is that there's a bunch of people goes down to Americade next year in June. Lori and I will be there for the whole week, riding around, and hopefully we can do some meetup with our American friends that are in and around the area. Anyway, that's the first week of June. I think it's the 7th to 11th, I think, are the dates. But anyway, I'll put that up there for people as we get closer. But anyway, so just the last little bit here, guys, and it's wow, I can't believe how fast the show's gone. Anything else you'd like to add or give shout outs to? Let's just do a quick round. Jim?
Well, I've seen certainly a few names in the chat, which I can't see that well. Good to see those people here. A lot of them who have remarked on my channel, or I've certainly had some chats back and forth on threads on Facebook. So it's good to see those. But this has been kind of fun. There's just so much to talk about. That's the thing.
Well, we'll give you an opportunity to do a little bit more riding in Newfoundland and up and down some of those roads. And definitely, if you're willing, we'd love to have you back.
I would love to come back.
All right. Good. Thanks, Jim. Kev?
I'd just like to say, I hope everybody out west is staying safe. And all of the stuff that's going on out there, we've been thinking about you and watching you on the news. And I hope everything, gets fixed quickly. Other than that, no, not much else to say. I've been on a self-imposed YouTube break right now, and I hope to get back at it soon. But that's all I've got. How about you, Wayne?
I got nothing. Where are we going next week?
I don't know. I
think it's your house, Wayne.
Is it mine?
Yep, I think so.
Oh, I thought it was Kevin.
Oh no, it's Kevin's.
Yeah, it's mine.
Because you did long distance riding last week.
Yeah, I guess it'll be here. So I got to sort that out this week.
Oh, will we be in the shop?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Probably be in the shop.
Is there any refreshments in that shop?
Oh yeah.
All right. Okay.
Well, thank everybody for in the side chat there on all the newbies that come on, and don't be shy to come back. You guys.
Yeah, we really appreciate the support and having you in the side. That's great.
Yeah, and lots of talk. Jim, your topic was really good. I see a lot of people talking about the mini mate trailers and that. Mm-hmm. So
I'm going to have to look at the live stream later when it's posted and just take a look at the chat.
Yeah.
You won't get the live stream when it gets posted. Unfortunately, you won't get the whole thing. So if you've got your YouTube chat there, don't close it after, and it'll give you a chance
Okay.
to read through it.
Yeah.
All right. And for me, thanks everybody for dropping in. Today we had a very fortunate sidebar guest, and that was Purple on 3. She was our first aid nurse for tonight's show, right? And if you're wondering why I say first aid nurse, you
Check
can
out the
ask
video.
Tommy G, or you can go to Purple on 3's website and check out her latest mail call, something to do with a boomerang, blood, and all of the rest. But anyway, interesting video. Have a laugh, take a look at it, and we'll see you guys. We'll see everybody here next week, right?
Yeah, here. Come to my house.
Right? So it's on, no, we got to get this. Anyway, it's this guy down in the corner. It's got Superman Kev. Look for his stuff. So as always, ride safe, be safe, and we'll see y'all soon, right? For the Canadian guys, for Jim, old guy on the bike, thanks very much for joining, and we'll see you again.